right, we are live. Happy Tuesday, another 2 p.m. Central training call. I'm super excited. We are talking yet again about another one of my favorite subjects, everything virtual assistant. So with that being said, I think we have 70 to 80 people watching in live here. So if you guys can hear me, drop a comment down below. We got a busy day here at Sphere Rocket headquarters. You're going to see puppies, videographers, lots of our team members just running around. We're editing, we're creating, we're doing. And with that being said, this is all powered by hundreds and hundreds, and we've just eclipsed 1,000 real estate virtual assistants within our organization. And so with that being said, today I want to turn today's call away from a subject related call and more into a question and answer call. You might even get some entertainment from my little Doberman that's running around, super excited. But I want to turn today more into a Q&A call. I really want to go through number one, questions that you guys have about having a virtual assistant. Having a virtual assistant is one of the biggest kept secrets that mega agents do not talk about. They don't talk about virtual assistants when they're on stage getting awards. They don't talk about virtual assistants when they're out there teaching trainings. And I don't know why, but what we found is so many of these top producers have virtual assistants. And how do I know that? Sphere Rocket provides the top 1% of agents virtual assistants. We are scattered among the top Wall Street Journal in terms of the people that are on it have our VAs. I know what the VAs are doing for them, and a lot of times they don't share this information out into the public, and I don't think that they're trying not to share it. I think it's just not the first thing that comes to their mind, just because they're so used to having the VA in their business, and they have taken for granted that they actually know how to use a VA. They know what VAs benefit them, and they just see it as everyday life, where my job is to help every agent, whether you're doing one deal or 100, see what a virtual assistant can do for you. So with that being said, if you guys are watching live, jump in, and I'm going to give you guys a great hour today of just Q&A. I have a list of the top asked questions that we get from people about Sphere Rocket, about having a virtual assistant in general. So I'm going to go through some of those, but as I go through those, I also want to take your guys' questions. So if you guys have a question, please drop it in the comments. I'm going to challenge you. Ask a question, whether or not you think you're getting a VA, you just want to know more about virtual assistants, etc. Drop a question about anything that you have about getting a foreign virtual assistant from the Philippines for $3 to $6 an hour. Right? A lot of people watching this, you might not have one, you might have one and you're just getting started. I want you to ask me anything. Nothing is off record of anything you want me to answer about pros, cons of having a VA from a foreign country in the Philippines for $3 to $6 an hour. And I want all the questions. I want questions like, hey, is $3 a lot of money per hour to a VA? How does that compare? What is $6 an hour worth, right? Well, what are the pros and cons of security? What are the top 5 things you have your VAs do? I want all the questions. So if you guys have any questions at all, please drop them here. If not, I'm going to go through some of the top 20 questions that we get asked at Sphere Rocket about having virtual assistants from the Philippines. So I want to first start off with just the typical question we get all the time about having virtual assistants is, Justin, what is the English ability of a virtual assistant from the Philippines? You probably want your VA to communicate with vendors or clients or with your internal team, your buyer's agents, your listing agents, and you're like, what is the ability of a foreign virtual assistant from the Philippines to not have an accent, to be able to be understood, to have good grammar and different things like that. And to answer your question, it's no different than when hiring in the United States. You're going to have different levels of what we call a voice VA versus a non-voice VA. And I'm actually going to put these down here at the bottom so you guys can kind of revisit it. And just one second. Voice VA versus a non-voice VA. And so I want to share this with you guys because in the Philippines, we refer to this as a voice VA versus a non-voice VA. When a virtual assistant from the Philippines applies for a job, they're either going to apply as a voice VA basically indicating to us that they think that their skill level is at a high enough level in terms of command of English, command of grammar, different things like that, that they feel comfortable interacting in conversation, fluent conversation with little to no hiccups at all or misunderstanding. And then we have other VAs that apply as non-voice VAs, and a non-voice VA's main specialty is behind the scenes work. They don't communicate with really any client, their employers, different things like that. So that's the biggest difference between a voice VA and non-voice VA. Now, when it comes to the real estate industry, when our team is recruiting virtual assistants for real estate agents in the United States and other countries, Canada, the UK, we focus heavily on voice VAs. So a majority of our candidates come in as voice VAs. Last month alone, Sphere Rocket generated about 90,000 applications for virtual assistants in the Philippines. And so obviously when we have the ability to get 90,000 applications to work for us, the benefit of that is we can source through thousands and thousands of applications and find the best fits for English and non-English speaking VAs. If you were to only get 10 applications, you're just going to kind of be stuck with whatever you get in terms of the quality of English. When we go through 90,000 plus applications, we're able to really find the best of the best. So it really just depends on how many people are you sorting through when you're trying to find your virtual assistant. If you go out and try to do it yourself, many times you're not going to get as many applications as the big, VA companies like us out there are able to get. So you're kind of stuck settling, and you don't have the time, the patience to go through interview after interview after interview. So you end up settling. The English isn't where you want it to be. So to answer your question, if you were to call any of my team members, most of the time you wouldn't even guess that they're in the Philippines just by having conversations with them. So I'm going to give it a quick pause. What questions do you guys have? I'm going to give you guys a second, and we're going to kind of reboot this. I want you guys to comment any questions you guys have about what it's like to have a real estate virtual assistant. I'm going to jump over to my other screen real fast, and I'm going to check the questions that have been rolling in thus far. So drop your question. I see we got 4 or 5, and we are going to pick it back up here in just about 30 seconds. Perfect. So someone from San Diego just asked, Justin, what are the top 5 positions that Sphere Rocket hires for in the real estate industry? Great question. We hire a ton of different positions. I say we average about 10 to 20 different positions per week that we hire in terms of what do they do, what's their job title, position, etc. The number one thing that we do is general real estate executive admins. That by far is our most requested VA, is general executive admin VAs. Now, this can result in a ton of different subcategories that those VAs specialize in. Social media is obviously one of them. Transaction coordination is another one. Personal assistant is another one. CRM manager, lead manager is another one. So I'd say number 1 is general executive admin. That's the number 1 position we hire for. The number 2 position we hire for most often is video editors. Video editors are massive. You guys know that social media is exploding faster than ever. The number 2 position we hire for is video editors. Usually they range about $4 to $5 an hour, and most people hire them on their staff full time to be able to produce 3, 4, 5 videos per week to really take their content creation to the next level. The third we hire the most often is ISAs. Inside sales agents. We call them ISAs, even though they could be outbound lead generating or inbound lead generating. So our ISAs that we hire the most often are First Client Care Love ISAs. Those are ISAs that basically call your current clients, they call your current database, they call different things like that, acting as if they are a concierge on your team. They're working for you full time. They're obviously really just loving on your past clients, your referrals, your database, and things like that. Not a lot of cold calling on that side. Then on the opposite end of the spectrum, we obviously hire a lot on the cold outbound ISA. That could be for sale by owners, expireds. Guys, I think what's really funny about today's market is that someone comes to me and asks for a VA to do cold outbound outreach and expires and for sale by owners. I think that number 1, that agent's really a lunatic for the most part, because when I look up their market, there's almost no for sale by owners and there's almost no expired. So I'm really not sure what they're trying to do with their VA because there's not anything for that VA to call. And so I think a lot of agents get sold this myth that ISAs and just call for sale by owners expireds and get one and they'll do it. Well, if none of them exist in your market, what in the hell are they going to call? So even though that word ISA gets thrown out a lot, we find a lot more of today's market is circle prospecting, making offers on homes verbally in terms of asking if someone would be willing to sell their home or not. So that's probably one of the biggest ISA positions that we hire for right now. Number 4, it's actually soon to probably be number 2 for us of the most hired positions, is agent attraction. And when I call it agent attraction, that could be also called recruiting. A lot of people are using VAs to help recruit to their real estate brokerage, recruit to their real estate team, recruit to their profit share, recruit to their revenue share. There's a lot of different options when it comes to that, but a lot of people are using VAs to help assist with that, onboard new agents, onboarding different things like that. Then our 5th and probably least popular, but we still hire a ton of them, is personal assistants. A lot of personal assistants fall into that general executive admin, which is our number 1 hire. But some people have such big businesses that they have a full-time need just to have a VA in their personal life, managing their rental properties, managing their day-to-day just scheduling, managing their personal finances, different things like that. So I would say that's probably our 5th biggest hires. So to recap, number 1, general executive admins are our most popular. Number 2, video editors. Number 3, shortly after that, is ISAs. Number 4, after that is, personal assistants and ISAs and different things like that. So those are our top ones that people have us hiring. Someone from Washington just asked, can I write off my virtual assistant's expenses? So can I get a write-off for my virtual assistant? So in the way that we operate, the virtual assistant operates as an international foreign contractor. Most of them sign what we call a W-8BEN. So what that basically does is it allows the VA to take advantage of a tax treaty with the United States to where if you pay your VA, let's say $4 an hour, $640 a month, roughly $7,000, $8,000 a year, that allows you to write off everything on your taxes as long as your VA signs the W-8BEN stating that they live in the Philippines and that they're claiming the tax treaty as a reason for their income. So great question there. How far does $4 an hour go in the Philippines is what someone just asked. So the best thing I can do to kind of give you a rough reference to this is give you positions of other jobs and how far they go inside of the Philippines. So your average electrical engineer in the Philippines, and I'm just looking at here, seeing the most updated stats. An average electrical engineer in the Philippines goes for about $9,000 a year. So you guys think about in terms of they had to go to college, they had to do all these different things. About $9,000 a year is what an electrical engineer makes. And so if you can pay a VA $4 or $5 an hour, now you're paying them $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 a year. You're giving opportunities to people that are administrative assistants being able to make the same amount of money as someone that's working, an electrical engineering job, an engineer, a doctor, different things like that. And so that'd be like an executive admin here in the United States, that usually makes $30,000 to $40,000 would be equivalently making $80,000 to $90,000. So in the Philippines, what we found is, and this is something I've experienced with my own team, getting to know them on a personal level, understanding their finances, helping them, save for retirement, is that ever since the 20th, 21st century and the change of technology, virtual assistants in the Philippines have dreamed of getting a virtual assistant job. That's the pinnacle of jobs in the Philippines. Guys, I'll tell you right now, if $3 to $4 to $5 an hour wasn't a lot of money in the Philippines, we would not have 90,000 applications coming in, right? If that was below minimum wage or it was in the poverty line or all these different excuses that we get from people trying to tell us that it's too low of pay, that's just you having limiting beliefs. It's a different economy. It's a totally different world where $4 to $6 an hour goes a lot farther than you could even imagine. It still blows my mind how far $4 to $6 an hour goes. Now, with that being said, I have team members on my team that make $7, $8, $9, $10, $12, $15,000 or per hour over time. And so with that being said, obviously we always want to be raising their pay as they're increasing with us. But at the end of the day, the starting rate, there's no need to go pay a VA $10 an hour just because you feel like it or that's what society's telling you, when in their market, it's a going wage of $3 to $4 an hour. So with that being said, I'm going to keep running through these questions here. I'd love for you guys to drop any questions that you guys got, but I got quite the amount of list here. So a few people asked, do I have to use a VA 40 hours a week? To answer your question, you don't have to use a VA 40 hours a week. A lot of people think you do. I will tell you at Sphere Rocket, if you come through us to get a virtual assistant, you do need to use your VA 40 hours a week. That's really the only option that we provide because we find that it has the highest success rate. We found that the reason that most agents fail with a virtual assistant is they're trying to be cheap, right? Number one, we're already trying to increase our profit percentage by getting a virtual assistant. There's no need to even try and be cheaper when you're getting the VA. And so what I mean by that is if, let's for example, with Sphere Rocket, our average employer pays about $4 a month for their VA. $640 a month times 12 months. That's roughly $7,000 a year. That for most people is less than one commission check. But we do have some people that are like, well, Justin, I'm not that busy. I don't need a full-time person. And I just go, that's absolute bullshit. Like, you have enough work for a full-time VA. And the reason why I say that is because the VA is going to be doing things that you're not currently doing in your business, but also taking off the things that you are doing. And so when you combine those two together, I have never met someone that wasn't able to get their VA 40 hours a week of work. And the other thing, and the reason why I kind of say that it's bullshit and kind of excuse my language is, here's the thing, you're getting an assistant to help you scale your business, right? And when you get that assistant to help you scale, even if in the perfect world you got a VA for 20 hours a week and they help you scale, well, eventually you're going to be scaling so fast and so big, which is your goal, is that you're going to need to bring them on full time. But at that time, they might be working a job for somebody else, splitting their time. Maybe even worst case scenario, that VA is awesome for you 20 hours a week. You go and ask them to work for you 40 and they say, no, I can't. I'm actually going to go work for that person 40 hours a week because they offered it to me first. Right? And so we found that it's counterintuitive. If your goal is to scale, make more money, and grow an organization, yet you're trying to be cheap by only hiring the VA 20 hours a week, you're going to find that there's a lot of rubs. Your success actually causes friction, right? And when your success causes friction in terms of how often your VA is working, it just doesn't work well, right? Trying to be cheap and taking a VA from $7,000 a year down to $3,600 just for $3,500 because you're trying to get half time because you're not busy enough, that it just doesn't jive. Because what we've seen business and just mental and psychology wise, if you succeed, it means you're going to ultimately have to face a decision later on of taking them full time. And most of the time, by the time you decide that, it's too late. They're already working 2 or 3 other jobs for other people. But when you hire a full-time VA, that person is dedicated to you. They're only working for you, and they're more invested in making sure that your business succeeds at a higher level. Someone from Washington just asked, what time zone do they work on? Great question. The VAs work on our time zone. So most of my VAs, for me personally, they either work 7 a.m. Central to 4 p.m. Central, or 8 a.m. Central to 5 p.m. Central, of course, with a lunch break. Now, yes, that is on their time zone, or on their night time zone, should we say. So as Americans, a lot of times we're like, well, Justin, how does that work? Do they like that? Can they sustain that? Again, the Philippines has been an outsourcing culture for the last 20 to 30 years at a very high level by big corporations. And so their society and culture has changed to, again, when people are going through school, elementary school, middle school, high school, you know, like the dream job is to be a VA. And so if that means working from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Manila time, they will do whatever it takes to be able to work from home. Because what a lot of us don't realize is in Manila, Cebu, a lot of these different places, is when they go to work for call centers and they're making $400, $500, $600, $700 a month, they have to travel on average between 1.5 hours to 2 hours each way to get to work, right? Imagine all the things you've heard about LA traffic and put it on steroids. You've never seen anything like this before. And so when we take into account all these things, the virtual assistants actually desire to work this night shift, because that means during the day, they can help their kids go to school. They can then sleep while their kids are at school. When the kids come back, they're now waking up for their morning, their kids' evening. They can still spend a ton of time with their family, where it used to be that they were always back and forth traveling. What we've also found is a lot of VAs, a lot of times were only single income houses, because when one spouse or parent would go and have to do that 2 hours back, the other spouse just couldn't work, right? Because they didn't take care of the kids, things like that. And so we find that a lot of VAs, their spouse is still able to work a lot of times as a VA. Many times they work in the call center industry or servicing, outsourcing, BPO industry. And now they can still take care of the kids and work from home because the kids are sleeping while they're working. And it just kind of creates this really, really good congruent lifestyle for the VA where they get to spend time with their family. They get to work on their schedule. They get to, make really good money, yet still stay and spend time with their kids and their family. And usually a lot of times the elders that they're taking care of in terms of different things. So great questions there. Let me just keep going. I got a few more. I don't see any other questions from the 60 people watching right now. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop it in here. Someone asked me, how do I know that the internet connection speed is good? That's a great question. So if you're hiring your own virtual assistant, obviously you would want to run tests with them, etc. So all I can tell you is what we do at Sphere Rocket. Whenever we hire a virtual assistant, our main goal when we're hiring them is to vet them through every single part of the process. So we take speed tests on the VA several times throughout the process. So when they're doing interviews with us, they're doing live streams, they're doing standstills, they're doing trainings. We ask at different points for them to provide a speed test on their internet, so that way we can kind of see what the acceptable levels are. Obviously, we're encouraging hardwires, internet backups, different things like that. I can tell you that obviously some VAs have internet interruptions a lot, right? Those are VAs that don't exist within our organization for very long. It's just the straight reality is we got to have VAs that have really, really good internet. And so again, going back to those 90,000 applications a month, when we get 90,000 applications a month, we are able to sort and make sure that we're finding the VAs with the best internet. Now, sometimes if someone squeaks through that has rough internet, we end up having to fire them, et cetera. Yeah, it does, but it's part of life, right? No different than if you hired the high school student down the street and they didn't ever show up to work on time, right? You would have to eventually fire them, right? Even if it's no fault of their own, different things like that, like just a part of the job, and it's something we deal with on a day-to-day basis. But for most of the time, we have almost no issues. Our team right now is online about 93.5, I think was the number I looked at this morning, percent of the time, which means, yeah, 7% of the time they're down, but you got to remember, they're a third world country. Their infrastructure is not as good. They get monsoons and all these different things on a daily and weekly basis. So 93% is kind of what I expect from my team to be up and running at. With that being said, I think I have two more questions here that I'm going to answer if no one else has any other questions. Someone asked me, hey, Justin, how do you see what your VAs are doing during the day? How do you monitor what they're doing? How do you know they're actually completing work? Thanks, Anna. Anna's from New York. She has asked me, Justin, how do you know that what they're doing? I can actually, I'll actually share my screen with you guys real fast so you guys can see this. Let me just pull open a chart. So when it comes to independent contractors, right, they're not employees. We got to make sure that we're following the rules on that. But when it comes to having a VA, one of the things that we do is we monitor their screens using a system called screenshotmonitor.com. And what this allows me to do is it just allows me to go in there and make sure they're doing the work, right? No different than Fiverr or Upwork or all these different platforms that are more project-based. We do the same thing. So Eric's one of my video editors. I could go in, I could see exactly what he's doing. I see the breaks he took. He might have went to the restroom, might have been checking his Facebook messages, different things like that. But I can go in, I can see exactly what they're doing. So you guys can kind of see here, they're doing some video edits for me, different things like that. And I just kind of know what they're up to, right? I know how they're doing, what they're working on, where they're at, and things like that. And so with that being said, it's just really, really cool to be able to go in there, see how they're doing, and run it like that. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. A lot of people ask, Justin, how do you know that they're actually completing the work? At the end of the week, that system will create an invoice for them. They'll send it over, obviously, between Sphere Rocket and the employers. That gets paid and so on. So great question, Anna from New York. Someone asked, Beth from Winter Park, Florida asked, Justin, how do we sign up to get a VA from you? That's relatively easy. You guys can just go to this website down below there. If you guys just go to sphererocketva.com, you can obviously talk with our team about getting a real estate virtual assistant. Our team is experts at it. We've done it over 1,100 times in the last 16 months alone. So there's really nothing you're going to tell us that you need that we haven't found many, many, many times before, no matter the position. So just go to that website. More than happy to answer your questions there. But with that being said, I'm just going to wait just a second to see if any other questions roll in. So if you guys have any questions at all, feel free to drop them here. But with those being said, I am going to end the broadcast here just in a minute. I'm glad that you guys jumped on. I'm glad you were able to ask some questions. I know that one of the biggest fears that holds people back from getting the assistance and the people on their team that they need is just purely fear of not knowing and the unknown. The cool thing is at Sphere Rocket, we've seen that unknown. I've wasted my money. I've wasted other people's money in terms of like growing big teams. And we were the innovators in terms of making sure that we failed at everything so that you don't have to. So that's what's really cool about the way we operate, is just being so specialized down into real estate. So with that being said, if you guys have any questions, feel free to hit me up after the fact, drop a comment, even if you guys are watching this via a replay. And I can't wait to see you guys succeed with virtual assistants whenever that time is right for you. So thanks for joining our Q&A call, guys. I hope you guys have a great Tuesday, and we'll see you guys next week on Tuesday's Facebook Live again on everything real estate virtual assistants.